Remember, Brian, beards aren't funny. We were told that.
Was that what somebody said? Beards aren't funny?
Like, whatever your beard thing was at the beginning wasn't quite as funny as you thought it was. Like, okay.
My favorite is that people just really think we're, like, faking it. I love it. It's just like, yeah, okay, sure. Whatever you...
No, we just have normally annoying laughs.
We just find things annoyingly funny. Mm-hmm. I apologize. Also... It tastes way better out of here. It's like colder and cleaner water than I've ever had in my life.
Some say it was forged from the fountain of youth.
I feel like it's making me more vivacious. And it was only like $15 mug.
There you go.
Hello and welcome back to Good Bad or Bad Bad, show we watch terrible movies and tell you if you should too. It's the 76th episode, coming down from the high. By this twisted pair. There's no way to match that high. We'll be chasing that dragon.
I highly doubt. Yeah, I highly doubt.
We'll be chasing that dragon for the rest of our lives. Turn your light on.
Oh, right.
Let me see.
We're experts here.
There you go. That looks better. But it's the 76th episode. I'm your host, Mr. Brian Showdown, joined as always by the other host in the Quantum Physics shirt, which you can own now.
What?
That's right.
What, Brian? How?
You just visit tpublic.com and search Good Bad or Bad Bad, or you can search Quantum Physics and you'll find it. But we have a merch store on TeePublic with several different options of shirts and coffee mugs and phone cases and pillows and
laptop bags.
Everything you could ever want. Everything you could ever want is available. Not everything you could ever want, but a lot of stuff. And it's very reasonably priced. And if you were waiting because we had some t-shirts at one point, but we didn't have women's sizes, or we didn't have like super big ones or like extra smalls or tailored or whatever. There's a million options. Go crazy. Everything you buy, a portion of it supports us. So,
yay!
Go buy your stuff. Buy that merch. Pillows. In the meantime, we're going to talk about... Oh, you're the other host. I already said that in the Quantum... It's been a long day. We're going to talk about Light Blast.
Like being wild, running free.
Not Laser Blast, yes. Which is a different film that people have requested. But we heard that request and said, screw you, we're doing a different movie that's a similar title.
Why? Because Erik Estrada.
Turkey with French fries? Shit. You taste it first, sweetheart.
Yes,
he's back.
Erik Estrada makes a triumphant return to Good Bad or Bad Bad. We last saw him in episode like 11?
9? I think it was
something
9.
like that. Yeah, one of those.
Where he was playing a priest.
Yes.
Skulls leaving their faces like Halloween
Thomas
behind.
has always been interested in the eccentricities of our parishioners.
And this one, he gives a little bit more than he did in that one. You could tell in Divine Enforcer, Erik Estrada was just there for that check and was not super into it. This one, he's a little more involved.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And in this one, he gets to have all the fun that a lead could have in a film.
Yes.
So I could imagine this was a fun one to shoot for him.
Yeah. So it's a 1985 film. I'll just read the IMDb little one-sentence summary of the story just to kind of give you a grounding of where we're going here. A crazed physician, which we'll talk about, invents a death ray and threatens to destroy San Francisco unless he is paid $10 million. That's the summary on IMDb. This is an Italian film, but it was filmed in San Francisco, which we'll talk about. Produced and directed by Enzo Castellari, who is a bit of a name in sort of schlocky Italian B films. He's done quite a few. Yeah, he's done quite a few. This is like one of his top credits, but he's done his fair share of those schlocky 80s B Italian movies. He's still directing. He's still making movies. Wow. So, there's a couple things about this movie. One, it's actually kind of okay.
Yeah, that was the weird part.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the premise and look at like the stunts and like some of the craziness that happens, it hits all those nice good bad beats.
Yeah.
But then you look at the underlying thing and the overarching narrative, and you're just like, this is actually kind of competent.
Well, yeah. The thing that's interesting is that all the acting is mostly competent, except for some of the ADR, like it's really cheesy and bad.
Can you tell me the time?
Yeah, it's late. Too late.
Is that so?
Yeah.
The plot is kind of incoherent and kind of like not really fleshed out. Like, it's stupid.
The terrorists are using the most modern scientific means for extortion. Puts us all in immediate danger.
Unfortunately, they appear incredibly confident with their new demand for $10 million.
Unacceptable at the moment, I agree.
But what it is, as an action 80s schlock B movie, kind of hits exactly what it's going for. Yeah. It's got great music.
Oh, fantastic.
It's got
music.
Great fucking stunts. It's got great death scenes.
It has stunts where I looked at some of the stunts and I was like, that guy's hurt.
Yeah.
That guy is absolutely hurt.
Numerous times in my notes, I was like, my notes literally were like, wow, cool stunt. Wow, cool stunt. Okay, somebody died on this set. I got to the point where I'm like, wow, that was impressive. But that was too impressive? Like, somebody might have died. But great stunts, great deaths, super great deaths, and chase scenes. Although that's maybe the worst part is the final chase scene, which we'll talk about when we get there. But yeah, Light Blast. Let's get into it and break it down. So it opens up in a train. Oh, with the music and opening shots of a train yard, and this opening music was not what I was expecting.
No.
It's like a ballad, and like with this crooning singer, and it's like damp shots of a train yard, and I'm gearing up for Light Blast with Erik Estrada with a gun on the cover, and we get this weird like melancholia open, and I'm like, what is happening?
What?
You see, there's more to life than me. Like being wild, running free.
What are we doing? Now that's like the only time the music isn't kicking, but it's a little distracting.
Even just the thematic music is pretty. I mean, it's 80s. You got your synths and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's dated, but it's pretty great. And we're in this train yard, and we get introduced to this couple who are making out and going to the bone zone in the train yard.
Yes.
Well, initially we just see this guy like creeping in the train yard, and then it turns out that it's like a girlfriend and a boyfriend, and they're meeting up to go bone. A lot of ADR
in a train yard.
In a train yard, as you do.
We're losing precious time.
Okay.
The evil physician shows up in his truck, and he decides he's going to test his laser.
Yes.
He's testing his laser as our couple is boning in the train car. And now here's the thing that was very confusing to me. It took me a while to figure out what this laser was, how it worked.
Well, it was kind of described almost poorly.
In the beginning?
Point.
No, later. Yeah, that's what I mean.
The release of protons condenses gases contained in the liquid crystals to their maximum, transforming them into electronic megabombs of unbelievable power.
That's what I mean. I figured it out later when they explain it, but this initial, I was like, okay, so he's going to test this laser in this train yard. Does he know those kids are there? Is he trying to kill them? Because there's no reason he would know they're there. I don't think he does.
No.
He's just shooting it in the train yard just by happenstance that these kids are there.
Well, he also doesn't care, but
yeah.
He gets very malicious very quickly in this film.
Yes, true. Eventually he starts killing people, but this one he's not intentionally killing these kids.
But he shoots this giant digital clock that's working in this abandoned.
It's like a weird abandoned train yard, or seemingly abandoned, but he shoots a giant digital clock.
Yes.
That's there. And I'm like, why did he shoot a clock? Because he says, got to wait for the right shot. He says that. And I'm like, oh, what's that? What's your right shot? You're just testing this, aren't you? No, it's because he's got to hit that clock.
Give me the right shot.
At first, I thought that whenever he shot the second clock, because that's how this thing works.
This man hates clocks.
Exactly. I felt like Steve Martin in The Jerk. He hates these cans.
He hates these clocks.
He hates these
clocks.
Stay away from the
clocks. Yeah, he's like the master from Doctor Who, and like the ticking of the clock like drives him because he's seen into the time vortex and it like drove him insane. But yeah, so he shoots the clock explodes, and then everything around it starts like melting. Like fences and and the train car.
And we are introduced to the greatest special effects in this film.
I wasn't ready for it, but we full on get Raiders of the Lost Ark melting faces.
Yes.
It's amazing. Enjoy.
It's so good.
We get a few of them throughout the course of the movie. They do the full-on Raiders face melt, not quite as good as in Raiders. Well, their budget's considerably lower. But they're not bad. It's not bad, all things being said. And so these two kids get melted, and the physician's like, it works, great, and they get out of there.
Release the hostages.
This is Joe Harper reporting from the corner of Grant and Lamont. The police have just informed the robbers of the bank the city has given in to their demands.
So then we get to this hostage situation in a bank. Mm-hmm. Standard bank hostage situation. All the cops and the news crews outside. And I love the news reporter. I love that he is a news reporter in the 80s. He has a giant beard and a scarf, and he looks like my dad. Like, he looks like my dad looked in the 80s, but he's the fucking news reporter.
It's great.
It's kind of amazing.
It's now almost 3 hours that the robbers have held the hostages inside the Sequoia Savings and Loan Building.
And then, so we jump inside, and we're introduced to the guys that are have all the hostages, and they're being creeps to the hostages. And I love this. One of the security guards tries to confront them, and the guy hits him with his rifle a few times. And now clearly what happened here, I would assume, based on how this is edited, is they had one shot of the guy hitting him with his rifle, and it didn't look good. So every time he goes to swing a rifle at him, instead of cutting normally, you would cut to another angle to disguise how clumsy the action is. But they don't have that other angle, so they cut outside to a cop's face who's holding a gun on the outside, and then back inside. It does it three
That's
times.
Great.
It's
That's great.
You gonna be a hero?
And it's not the first time we get that. There's a part where somebody's firing a gun where they do 3 quick takes on it because none of them look probably that good, and they're just we'll do that quick editing.
So then that security guard goes outside. They negotiate hostage swap or whatever, and they shoot him.
They shoot the shit out of him.
First hostage is coming out now. Oh, God.
And I love it. Cuts to an old lady who's just in the crowd, and she's like, "Murderers! Kill those punks!"
Murderers! Kill them! Kill those punks, officer!
It's just so good. Like I said, as soon as this movie opened and there's all of this with the hostage situation, I was like, I'm on board. This is great, fun schlock. This is exactly what it needs to be.
This entire bank robbery scene
it's great. Yes, beautiful. It's fucking amazing. And now there's a little bit later on that's not quite as good, but this opening sequence is great. So they want some food while they wait for their plane to get out of there. And they need a delivery guy, and he's got to be naked so they know he doesn't have a gun.
Don't screw with me! I want him naked! Without a stitch of clothes!
And again, how kind of delightful and stupid this is.
And this is the best way to introduce your main character.
Yeah, we see naked feet walking up the sidewalk, and I was like, oh shit, that's going to be naked Erik Estrada.
No, not quite.
Not quite naked, but it is basically naked Erik Estrada.
He's in underpants because he looked at his the contract. And he's like, yeah, I don't have to. So No, you're not getting that.
Yeah, so we get he gets inside, and I love because we get a shot of the food he's bringing in, and it's a entire roast turkey and a plate of French fries.
What?
And I was like, what the hell? Well, and it's hilarious because the guy inside comments on it. The criminal walks in. When he walks in with the food, he's like, a turkey and French fries?
Turkey with French fries? Shit.
And I was like, oh, I know why that's a turkey. So you can hide a motherfucking gun inside that thing, which is exactly what he does.
Yes.
But we get a slow pedestal up Erik Estrada's body over the banana hammock. It's all delightful. And he reaches into the turkey, fists the turkey.
It is a beautiful shot.
You taste it first, sweetheart.
Because it just comes out of the turkey and you're like,
Yeah, I was expecting him to... I love, too, because it's, again, little details that make it so hilarious. I was expecting him pull a gun out of the turkey and shoot him. Or shoot and the turkey, like, explodes. But no, he pushes the barrel through a little turkey door. Yes. And shoots the guy in the head. I love the turkey door.
And this is just one of many crack shot of Erik Estrada throughout this film.
He's a great marksman.
He's a dead eye.
He's a dead eye. And then that scene ends, and he goes home, and he lives on a houseboat. Classic, like, 80s action movie star thing. Yes. I live on a houseboat.
Oh, God. Who all... Was it MacGyver who also lived on a houseboat?
Yeah, it might have been. And then they introduce that he's got to go do some research recon at some race or something. It doesn't matter. Cut to the racetrack, and I love they're panning on the racetrack. And did you notice? Okay, so you hear these sound effects that are like race car sounds, but it's very clearly a guy going... And at first, this is what's delightful. At first, I was like, "Oh no, movie! You really have some guy going brr brr."
No, we're introduced to the comic relief in his partner.
Yeah.
There's a man up against the left pole.
The camera pans and reveals his partner standing there making race car noises.
Yes, it's goofy. It's kind of dumb, but it's kind of fun.
Kind of amazing, especially because I wouldn't have been surprised if that had been the sound effects they chose, and I feel like they knew that, so they like did a bait and switch on me where they thought that I thought I was getting mouth sound effects for race cars, but they were like, I gotcha. And I was like, all right.
And this guy, his partner, Ben, is a giant man.
Yes, he is. He looks like Kevin Malone from The Office, the American Office, except Kevin Malone when he wears the wig to the wedding, because he has like, I think it's a hairpiece. It looks like a hairpiece. It might not be, but he has this giant hair weirdly sitting on his head. And he wears a real great hat through most of the movie.
Looks like a Fisher hat.
Yeah, that guy's a stand-up comedian, that actor,
That's great.
Or was. I assume he's probably dead now. But maybe not. It was only the 80s. We get it's a demolition derby or whatever. We get introduced to some news crews because they're there filming a demolition derby, as of course you would be, like a whole production crew filming a demolition derby. And this is the thing I said, we both have worked in broadcast news. We need to bring back the sleeveless puffy vests as part of the uniform. They all have
every single one of them
have these.
You need that. You need a plaid long sleeve shirt, and you need cargo shorts.
Yes, they have branded puffy sleeveless vests, and I was like, I want some of those for our...
And not entirely required, but appreciated, a backwards hat.
A backwards hat, yeah, absolutely. And they spot this extra news truck. And they're like, what is this extra news truck? We don't need it here, so they send a guy to tell him to get lost.
Also, wouldn't they be branded?
Yeah. He's like, oh, they must have sent an extra truck for some reason. Go tell him to get out of here.
Yes, sir. Sam, go to the other track. And tell that van they can go home. We don't need them. Tell them to go back to the station, and I'll take full responsibility.
And so the guy goes to tell him to get out of here, gets shot in the head, bang, headshot, dead.
I don't really... Hey.
And then this is their second test, and I was like, are they gonna melt the entire?
Oh, you bet.
Well, no, not quite.
Almost.
That's what I thought was gonna happen because they're on everybody's like a whole crowd on these
and there's a lot of people.
There's like hundreds of people there, including Erik Estrada, and that's where I was like, okay, well, clearly they're not gonna melt all of these people because Erik Estrada would melt and this movie would be over. But they shoot the press box.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look at that!
There's a giant digital clock on the press box. And they shoot the press box, and all the guys in the press box melt.
And the lead guy with amazing hair.
Yeah, the guy with that beanie. There's a guy wearing a beanie.
They all melt.
Raiders moment again. It's fantastic. Everybody else, some great stunts here. People diving off the grandstands, like leaping over the railing and stuff. And this is also where I was like, how common are these giant digital clocks? And like, how could this be your world?
The 80s.
I guess. I was like, how could this be your world takeover plan? I don't think I've ever seen any of those in real life. And now again, the 80s, I'm sure maybe there are more, but it just seems like they wouldn't be that common.
Curtis, we're heading east on Mansell. We're looking for a white camera truck with a cameraman still on top.
And then a car chase ensues. They chase the guy. They peel out of there without the cameraman getting back inside. The guy who was on top of the laser truck is still on top. And I was like, please, Erik Estrada, please shoot that motherfucker off the top of the truck.
Oh, yes.
Also, this truck is super top heavy because it has all this shit on top. It's like driving a news truck with the mast up.
Yeah.
And they're turning, and I'm like, this thing's
it's gonna flip.
It's like, you better not take any turns too fast. That motherfucker's gonna roll. And there's a couple times where people stunt roll out of the ways of cars, and they look very painful during this car chase. I'm like, yeah, okay. There's
one. Is this?
This is the one.
Part? Okay,
so I have a note that says, "Oof, that stunt roll out of the car looked painful." Oh, where Erik Estrada jumps out of the car looked painful too.
There's that too. There's part where they're going down the hills of San Francisco, which looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks great.
But there's one part where somebody is like, oh shit, jumps out of the way and gets hit by a moving vehicle.
Yeah. It's fucking amazing. I mean, it's terrible. I'm sure many stuntmen were injured in the course of making this movie, but it looks great. It looks great on camera. The guy abandons the truck and gets away. They come up, they investigate the crime scene, they find some paint on the truck, they wheel away the dead camera guy that he shot, or the dead good camera guy who got shot, but they don't body bag him. They just wheel him away on a stretcher and put him in an ambulance. I'm like, he got shot in the head. Okay, all right. And then we get a phone call of them basically saying, give us this much money at this time or else. And in the background of the shot is very clearly the Mare Island dry dock, which I recognize because they filmed there all the time on Mythbusters, because Mythbusters shot in San Francisco and they used to use it all the time.
Next up, the boys go heavy metal in a shipyard. No surprise then that the test venue is a spectacle in itself. Mare Island Naval Shipyard.
We get another car chase at one point. It's really just the beginning of this movie is just action. This whole movie kind of is just action. There's like zero
a lot of action. There's very few down points in the film.
There's a couple. Honestly, one of the biggest down points is the last action sequence because it's 8 minutes long and boring.
Yes, because not a lot happens.
Yeah. This is where some really, truly great car chase music kicks in with like the horns and stuff, and it's just... That is how you do fucking car chase music. And then this is where it's on the docks and they get the car explosion. The cops drive up. The cops drive off a little small ramp and just...
The second I saw those explosions, I was like, yes!
And I love...
Like, because in the 80s, anytime a car hits something, it's got to explode.
Boom! And I love the dock workers that are standing 20 feet away are like, huh. Exactly. They're just like... It's like this happens every Tuesday. Like they don't even give a shit.
I mean, honestly, we should move the explosive barrels, but
yeah, it's more fun this way. Yeah. Oh, it's great. Oh, I love one of the bad guys drives through a fruit stand, and the fruit stand guy's like, "Hey," and he just turns around and shoots him in the fucking head.
Hey, look at my hey!
But then Erik Estrada shoots a lot more guys, and they catch up to these guys. Turns out it was a fake.
It's a red herring.
A red herring.
Like there was no other.
No.
Who do you work for? Nobody, man. We just figured we'd cash in on some of that blackmail money.
Yeah, what it is that these guys heard about the two things with the laser and basically used it as a cover, like claimed credit in order to try to extort money out of the cops or the government or whatever.
Which there's two ways to go with it. One is just like what they did, which is just like, oh, that's interesting at least. Like that's that there's a world outside of these characters.
Yeah.
The other thing that you could have done in that situation was one of the guys, I don't know, got away or something like that, and the big bad caught wind of it, brought him in, and face melted him.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I'm going to teach you a lesson.
We could have needed some more face melting. I mean, there's plenty, but we could have always used more face melting.
That'd be a little bit more maniacal than he kind of is.
Yeah, because his whole plan, which we'll talk about, he's not in it to like. Well, he is, but we'll talk about what his goal is when we get more into him.
And my power will bring true peace on this planet.
And then we get sexy sax, the sexiest sax. We get some super, super sexy sax. This is some of the great dialogue with the politicians. One of the guys goes, "The terrorists are using the most modern scientific means for extortion."
The terrorists are using the most modern scientific means for extortion. Puts us all in immediate danger.
It is definitely a problem that requires Washington's intervention.
It is definitely a problem that requires Washington's intervention.
Okay, not gonna lie. Neil Breen would never write that because he doesn't trust the government.
True.
But that sounds exactly like something Neil Breen would write.
Yes, it does. There's dialogue written for these politicians or mayors or whoever this is delivering these sound like Neil Breen lines.
The terrorists are using the most modern scientific means for extortion. Puts us all in immediate danger.
We have evidence of the largest cyber and terror attack ever planned in multiple locations.
This is where we get the science babble explaining what's going on here, whether it's a laser, high-powered light source that hits liquid crystals and somehow excites the energy around them and causes intense heat.
The release of protons condenses gases contained in the liquid crystals to their maximum, transforming them into electronic megabombs of unbelievable power.
Or something.
And things melt. Particularly people. I do appreciate how they did the not really undercover cop, but cop without backup kind of scenario in this, where Erik Estrada is just tailing this guy, and he's jumping in and out of other vehicles.
Oh God, this scene is amazing. This scene is amazing. He literally it's so stupid. I have the notes here. He swaps cars. And then he hops in, he swaps cars by literally pulling up to a gas station. He's tailing a guy, like you said. He pulls up to a gas station, gets out of his car, and just gets in a random woman's car, and she just drives on. There's no time for him to have said anything to her.
No. Just follow this guy. I'll pay you for gas. He's a buddy of mine from college.
Well, you see, actually, the fellow in that red vehicle is my fraternity brother. And we're on this... well, could you just follow him for a while?
Yeah, and she's like,
okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And then they get stopped, and he's like, all right, I'm leaving. But you were going to pay for my gas. Bye.
Yeah, no, fuck you.
All right. You pay for gas.
Okay.
So he just jumps in a pickup truck, and you think that it's like, oh, he's just gonna fall. No, he ends up at this what funeral home basically.
Yeah, it's a funeral home.
On a motorcycle.
We don't ever see how he got on the motorcycle though. They don't get to show us that one. Yeah, but I love too. So a couple of things. Like I said, when he gets in that first car at the gas station, she just a stranger gets in her car and she immediately just drives away. And I'm like, you didn't. She's not like, who are you? Get out of my car. What are you doing here? Well, he gets in. She's like, time to go. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, it's Erik Estrada. You gonna say no to him?
All right, fair enough. And then I love when he hops in the truck. He knocks on the guy's window and it's like, follow that car. I'm the police. And the guy's like, okay. Yep, and I'm like, works for me. Bullshit.
Police officer, follow that car.
If that's me, I'm like, nope. You could take my car, but I'm sure I am not tailing a car for you. I'm a civilian. What are you doing? But then we get to the funeral home, and this is delightful.
This is amazing stuff. So this woman's working on a corpse to get it ready for visitation.
Yeah,
and Punch.
Yeah. Punch.
He's looking around and sees this paint that was on the
news truck or the truck, and it was on. They said it was from a generator.
Yes,
and he sees that. He looks in the window and sees the exact spot where this happened.
So he's sneaking in and looking around, and he gets down to where she was working on that thing, and she just attacks him.
Yeah. But then we get a fight between Erik Estrada and a fucking mortician. And now it's a little disappointing because they just fight. And I was hoping she was going to use some sort of like mortician tools. As
like just throw like formaldehyde or something.
I was hoping for something. She basically just has a pipe and swings it at him. And it's just a little disappointing. Or that thing that they stick up the butts of corpses so that they don't leak everywhere. Like, stick that, like, she tries to stab him with that or something. Something. I want something like that. What we do get, which is pretty great, is then the other guy shows up and there's a fight and he pushes a corpse at him. Erik Estrada pushes a corpse at the guy that comes in with the gun at him, the mustache guy. Mm-hmm. And then that guy pulls out the gun and is shooting at Erik Estrada and he's hiding behind corpses. In fact, like a hand falls off and a bullet hits it and saves Erik Estrada's life. And
thanks, man.
That's pretty great. He should have high-fived it. And that would have been a great moment if he high-fived it and then ran out of the room. That would have been awesome. And so he gets out of there and he goes to, we'll move on to the next scene. And this is where they're doing basically a fake drop of money. Mm-hmm. They have a briefcase full of mostly fake money with like a tracking device in it. And they send an inspector, the buddy cop.
I don't think it was necessarily a tracking device, that they made it radioactive. And they were tracking it through its radioactivity.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, sure.
It's a little bit
they're tracking it somehow.
The metal of the briefcase is treated to emit an electromagnetic wave. And the FBI will be on them before they realize it.
Erik Estrada's doing some research and he goes to the library. Mm. And with his girlfriend, who got introduced in the beginning of the movie, I can't remember.
It's Jacqueline.
Jacqueline,
he calls her Jack.
Yeah, he calls her Jack. And so she's like a librarian or something like that. And she works at the university. And he goes there and they're like looking through microfiche and stuff. And he realizes, or she's like doing research on the computer. He was a physics professor. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that makes a lot more sense. Because I was trying to figure out how a physician, which is what the summary for this movie said, invented a super laser. But a physics professor, an experimental physics professor, sure. Like, thanks, IMDb, for that. Whoever wrote that doesn't know what a physician is, apparently.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
And he got...
Would it be physicist?
Yeah, physicist, but it says physician, not physicist. All right. He got kicked out of USF, which is University of San Francisco, because he had an accident with his laser or whatever.
Whoops. Explosion causes lab shutdown.
So he got kicked out.
I accidentally melted a student.
Yeah.
The university executives, as well as State Department officials, officially denied that any top-secret experiments have been conducted on the site.
I've been hacking into government and corporate systems all over the country.
And so he got kicked out for that, and so that was part of his motivation, is he's super mad about that.
Those fools! They closed this lab down. One small accident, and the university administration wiping out 10 years' work.
Oh, so then the feds follow the money. And they get into the building where the money, they think that they followed them back to their HQ or whatever. They go inside, but it's a trap.
Dun, dun, dun.
And they all fucking explode. And then this is one of the ones, though, where somebody gets blown out of a window and they're like on fire, and then the scene just ends. It just cuts really abruptly.
Yeah, it does have
like,
some great jump out of windows.
Yeah, but this scene ends so abruptly that I was like, oh, a stuntman died, and they just had to cut this. Like, that's what happened. Because it cuts so abruptly. I'm like, oh, somebody died.
Well,
and they're like,
there's one particular scene where they're chasing the mustache guy for the first time to the mortician's office, right?
Yeah.
And he cuts it through traffic, and somebody runs into a motorcycle and explodes, and a person gets thrown onto a car that is on fire.
Yeah.
That person is dead.
Yeah. That gentleman flies through a burning car, and I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's crazy. At the end of these credits, I wouldn't be surprised if it said many stuntmen were killed in the making of this movie. It was like an in memoriam, and it was just like 12 stuntmen. There's another weird thing where an old man with a homeless man with a dog delivers something to the mayor.
But it's urgent. We've got a message for him.
What kind of message?
The man who gave me this said the mayor was waiting for it. He gave me $100.
And I just only talk about this scene because it again has a very abrupt cut at the end of the scene where the old man is talking to his dog and he's like petting his dog, and then it just cuts like abruptly, and I'm like,
that man's not too smart, is he, Stripe?
To deceive us will cost you double.
That dog bit him. That dog bit him, and they cut it. I was like, no other reason for what happened there. It's so weird.
That man's not too smart, is he, Stripe?
And then we have a montage explaining the plot of the movie, kind of.
The funny thing was, she wasn't the kind of person that had that kind of money.
Who her is, she can't talk. I chase after her, kill her, and where do I end up?
At this kind, ladies.
Right.
They're on the houseboat, and it's Erik Estrada and his partner and Jacqueline are there, and they're like, let's recap what's going on here. But always, I'm like, oh, please.
Always a bad sign.
Well, I was like, please do, because I'm a little lost. But then they talk for like 5 seconds, and then music fades up over there.
Yes! And then it goes montage!
Right. The expert in the WWE. It was in her garage that I found that generator. Same one that bumped into the stolen TV. This kind lady
I need to know what's happening.
Not only that, like it starts off with a normal conversation, and then the music swells up, and I'm just like, oh no, what's going on?
Yeah,
it's too loud. It's too loud, and then their mouths just like there's no noise coming from them anymore.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, why are we going montage?
Why are we montaging
right now?
A conversation? I've never seen a montage of a conversation before. And it was a conversation I wanted to hear because I wanted to know what was going on. I was like, oh, okay, great. Thanks. Thanks for montaging over them explaining the plot. It's already bad enough that you have a scene recapping the plot, but then we don't even get the scene of them recapping the plot. It's so annoying.
So we've only got 7 hours before the deadline. We've got to do something.
And they decide they've got to do something. Now, what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, I'm not sure how they come to this conclusion because we don't get to hear because there was music playing over.
And it's also irrelevant.
Yeah, it is also irrelevant because during this whole time, the bad guys are sneaking up on the houseboat. They found Erik Estrada, and we get a houseboat shootout where they fire a bunch of bullets through and they kill his girlfriend.
Oh no. You know what that means? Erik Estrada is in beast mode.
Yeah, and he's so mad now. Now it's personnel, kid.
Okay, so he's putting round after round into this pump shotgun.
Into the shotgun. So girlfriend's dead. It's personal now. He shoots a boat engine, and the boat engine just explodes.
And the guy catches on fire and is completely unable to get into the water that he is completely surrounded by, and just burns to death on the boat.
Yeah. It's like, dude, just fall any direction other than the direction you fell, and you'd be good. And then his partner gets shot. There's a big shootout. His partner gets shot in the arm. And I love this. He's laying on the floor like, and Erik Estrada runs over and he goes, "You get those sons of bitches.
Get those son of a bitches.
Get them." So Erik Estrada goes, and this is the big kind of finale almost. He puts on a bulletproof vest, gets his shotgun and his revolver, and he's going for him. He goes in, shootout inside in a warehouse.
And this shootout's not entirely incompetent.
No,
like there's even a point where Erik Estrada gets shot in his bulletproof vest first. Like that's the first thing that happens.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, he's not like, impervious kind of.
No, he gets shot and he knocks him out. Like he falls over. He's like, oh fuck, and then he gets up and shoots the guy. But it's not like he's not like sometimes in movies with the bulletproof vest where they shoot him and they're like, it doesn't affect him at all. It fucking knocks him over and he's like, oh god damn it. And then the bad guy monologues over a loudspeaker because of course he does.
Yes.
Congratulations, Warren. This is where I built my laser pad. And now you deserve to die.
It's like your classic Bond villain stuff here.
I am one man. I have the power of God.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where we get his motivation. And so he's mad at the university. Those fools at the university closed my lab. And he's in it for the scientific progress, but also the money, because here's his thing. He can use the money to buy power. And when he has the power, he can bring peace to the earth.
Money is important in this civilization. It buys power. That is what I want. Once I've perfected my invention, that is what I shall have.
He basically sees himself as the savior of Earth, and in order to do that, he needs to extort some money so that he can use that money to gain influence and power and then save the world.
And my power will bring true peace on this planet.
Fucking lunatic.
Yeah, he thinks he's going to be a philosopher king who saves the world, but he's not, because he wears a wristwatch, and that is his fatal flaw.
Brian!
Spoiler!
Brian, you're a physicist from the University of San Francisco who has developed a death laser that works with liquid digital clocks. What do you wear on your wrist?
Yeah, liquid digital clock. Of course, Kyle! It's the dumbest thing.
He's a genius man of science.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that they make sure to show us numerous times throughout the movie of him looking at that and stuff, so we know it's there. And it's one of those things where it's like, are you fucking okay? Okay, sure, great.
And then poor Erik Estrada's car gets totally wrecked.
We get a vibrations moment. Where the guy crushes his car with heavy machinery. And I was like, oh great, Erik Estrada's gonna turn into the world's best electronic music artist. Erik Estrada crawls out of the car, throws a can of gasoline underneath the treads of this.
And somehow he shoots it, which doesn't quite work.
No, that would not work.
Everything ignites all the way up inside the cab.
This is a lawnmower sized thing of gasoline, and for some reason it causes a big enough burst of flames to light the guy in the cab 8 feet off the ground on fire.
This is the scene where he is completely drenched in the fire resistant gel.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh boy, that one's very apparent. He probably should have had shorter hair for this.
Yeah. Yeah. And Erik Estrada does put him out of his misery, though. He shoots him. Then Erik Estrada steals a go-kart.
Hey, who's that?
And it's Christmas Rush all over again. It's not a go-kart. I'm gonna get shit on for calling.
Is it a dune buggy?
It's some sort of dune buggy thing. It's like it looks kind of like a go-kart, but like
it's definitely like it's an off-road vehicle of some sort.
Yeah. This is where we get the chase. And the music kicks in, but then it just stops.
Yes.
I was like, why did this badass music stop? And here's why I think it stopped. So there's some pretty good chase stuff here that's like, okay, nothing amazing, but it's serviceable. But then it goes on for like literally 8 minutes. Yes. Like I timed it. It's like painful. Literally 8 minutes. But I think what happened is they realized they weren't quite at 90 minutes. And so they literally used all of the chase footage that they shot. Like, all of it, because this chase footage goes on forever, and it's not that interesting. And I think the song, instead of trying to figure out how to edit the song and keep it playing for the entire time, they're like, we'll just stop for a while. We'll just stop for a while, and then whenever he jumps over anything, we'll bring the music back in. It's so fucking stupid. And at one point, he ramps off of nothing. These two cars crash in front of him.
Yes, and he just goes over them.
He does the classic movie, what did you ramp off of? There's just cars, but he flies over him like a goddamn superhero. It's forever long. It gets boring, honestly. It's really pretty boring. There's a pretty good moment where they're cruising down Folsom Street, though, and flying over hills, which is fun. And so they get to the docks. Basically, this whole time, we forgot to set this up, they put the laser on a barge, and the barge is going to get in a position to shoot some clock somewhere and kill a bunch of people.
See, now, honestly, this would have been better suited for New York.
Yeah.
Honestly, because you could be like, shoot Times Square.
Right. Like, they have a big clock in Times Square. And I feel like we don't ever even see the clock that they're going to shoot. So we don't even know what the stakes are of
there's Union Square? That's nowhere near that's not nowhere near the bay.
I don't know. It's kind of dumb. It's really pretty dumb. But so they're on this barge, and so the villain gets onto the barge. And Erik Estrada, I love there's a moment where Erik Estrada comes around a corner in his dune buggy, and he's spinning out, doing a 360. And I'm like, what just happened? Because we don't see why he's doing a 360 around the corner. I'm like, what happened before he got there?
But they get the barge out and it's being towed.
Yeah.
And in the greatest scene I think I've ever seen involving a vehicle in movies,
it's up there.
Yeah, he ramps off the dock and lands on this barge of a distance of 50 feet or something like that.
It's quite a distance. It's a ways out there.
Immediately unrestrains himself from the vehicle, pulls out his gun, and shoots 3 guys.
Yeah. bang, 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 boom. He's an ace shot. He is a dead eye, for sure. And how dare you? The best scene involving a vehicle in any movie ever is the one where Dean Cain slowly kicks his go-kart so he can turn in the tunnels in Christmas Rush. At some point, somebody dies or something, and the laser gets knocked. Basically, the laser gets moved so that it was shooting out like a porthole. Now it's aiming over to the side, but the countdown has already started. And our villain is in there with it. And Erik Estrada's still up on top. But then the laser kicks on. And it starts slowly moving across the room. And you're like, oh no.
And here's the thing. The laser doesn't even affect you if it hits you.
No, it doesn't affect anything other than liquid crystals.
Yes.
Literally. It's hitting all the electronics and not doing anything.
It slowly comes across him and then his wristwatch, and he melts.
Foiled by his own timepiece.
Hoist by his own petard.
Yes, indeed. And my favorite thing is just like Erik Estrada walks over, looks inside, sees him melt, and is like, all right, and the movie ends.
Good for me. Yes, it ends.
The fucking movie ends. The guy just melts. Erik Estrada's like, and then music plays, and then the barge sails away.
And it just zooms out.
Yeah.
For the entirety of the credits.
Yeah.
That's it.
And as some people say, Erik Estrada is still on that barge to this day, sailing out into the ocean.
I don't know how to drive the ship.
Yeah. But he's so he sails away, and the music kicks in and plays, and that's it. And I was like, you know what? I kind of liked this movie. Like, that chase scene sucked and was too long and was boring. But other than that, here's the thing. I'm a little torn because it's no, I don't think I am. I think it's good bad.
Yeah, it's good bad. The 8-minute chase scene, it's forgivable because of all the other stuff, which is entertaining, fully schlocky, and is fun.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I was gonna say is it's not. I'm not teetering between good bad and bad so much as I am between good bad and like B-movie bad, which is a little different to me than good bad, where it's like it knows what it is and it's going for schlock and it achieves it. Yeah. It's not trying to be bad. Like, there's this fine line difference there between like something like Thanksgiving, which is both going for B-movie schlock but also intentionally like bad
and then fails at that.
This is intentionally going for schlock and is good at that. And is thus good on purpose, but kind of good, but also not like a good movie. Like, it's not a good movie. It's not like this is a good film, but it's a fun film and knows what it is. So good bad, I guess.
Yeah, I gotta give it a good bad.
Yeah.
You never know what your love costs till the love's lost.
That's it for this episode. As always, you can support us on Patreon. We have an AMA out right now. We have a podcast. We have all kinds of good stuff on there. You can buy merch. We said it at the beginning. We'll say it again. You can buy merch at tpublic.com. Just search for Good Bad or Bad Bad. That shirt, other shirts. I have a podcast called This Film Is That, where we talk about movies that are based on books. The episode that is out when this comes out is Stardust. I got engaged at the beginning of that episode. So if you want to hear that, you can go check that episode out.
Congratulations, Brian.
Thank you, Kyle. But yeah, me and Katie, my co-host, my former girlfriend, now fiance, we got engaged at the beginning of that episode. It's her favorite movie. It's a pretty good episode and a good movie. So.
And I will say, for the film that I worked on, which we don't know, it's in weird like limbo. I do have a little information on it. It's looking very promising that it will come to some sort of distribution relatively soon.
So relatively soon. Look out for that.
I will give it Blizzard.
Relatively soon.
I will give it Blizzard's definition of relatively soon. We're doing some sort of film festival kind of premiere thing in June, so I know it won't come out before that.
All right. So not before June, but maybe after that. Look out for Interviewing Monsters. The end.
Yay!